So if you were going to give advice to people out there who are thinking about whether to become truckers or not, what are some things that they should take into consideration before making a decision on becoming a trucker?
They have to ask themselves, they got to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, am I passionate about what I'm going to be doing? Because if you don't have the passion, if you don't have the want or to actually drive a truck, you know, if you don't like trucks, you don't belong behind the wheel driving a truck. You know, I believe it's something that you have to want to do. You know, yes, everybody wants to make money, and yes, you can make a decent paycheck driving a truck. But, yo, driving a truck is no joke. You know, it's a commitment, it's a responsibility that goes beyond your everyday job. You know, because we got people's lives in our hands every single day. Every time we're behind the wheel, you know, we're talking about, I mean, we can take somebody out at any second. Just one mistake, just us getting a little distracted. That's why they don't want us using phones. You gotta have patience. You have to, you know, gotta have mad patience, you know, because everybody else is not watching out for one another out there on the road. Right. Us driving a truck, an 80,000-pound monster truck,
and they don't know how much these trucks weigh and how long it takes for us to slow down.
Stop and you know, and these things ain't, you know.
And you know you got people that last minute person trying to get over and get their exit. You know, you gotta have patience for that. You gotta have family support and stuff too.
So you know, I say if you're getting into the trucking game, yo, make sure you want to do it. Make sure this is something that you want to do.
Talk to a few truckers.
Yeah.
That's how they like it.
Hopefully you like trucks. You know, because you know, it's like, why even get into something that you're not even, you know, that you don't like?
Don't talk to
maybe
just one.
I might like it, I might not like it. No,
talk to
man.
a handful of them.
No, make sure you like what you're doing, because if you're just doing it for the paycheck, guess what? It's not gonna work, man.
Right.
It's not gonna work. You're not gonna want to be living in a truck 24/7. You know, it's not always. You know, it's not. You know, it's not like your home life. You're not around your boys. You're not around. You're not doing the things that you'd normally be doing, being out here on the road. You're taking yourself away from your life and actually living a whole nother life now.
What's the hardest part about it?
The hardest part is family and friends. You know, especially if you got wives, even girlfriends, whatever, children, or nieces and nephews. I don't care what have you, grandparents. You know, mom and pops, being away from your mom and pop. Yo, it's not an easy thing. You know,
one of the harder parts for me. I like TV. I can't.
Yo, you been having TV on the show.
I can't see all my shows right now. I miss my shows, my ball games, all that kind of stuff. So when I get a chance to,
can you get it on this now?
You be straight.
Not the same.
It's not the same.
Yo, you can put a 42-inch in the truck. I've seen people with 60 inches in their truck. You know, crazy.
Well, what's the best thing about it? That you like about it? Yeah.
Best thing about it.
Oh man.
Get to see
meeting people like you, Herbie. For real. Meeting people like you.
Other cool truckers,
you know? That's one of the benefits.
Some of the countryside and all that kind of stuff.
Because if I wasn't out here, we would have never met.
Right.
So we're going to meet individuals throughout our journey that we would have never met if we weren't doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Which makes it special.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love.
And me, I grew up all East Coast. Straight up and down, East Coast. I barely even knew it was the rest. Barely even knew it was the rest until I started trucking and driving over to the rest of the states and all that kind of stuff,
seeing the Hoover Dam and going through Vegas,
the Hoover Dam, going through Vegas,
Smoky
all that
Mountains,
kind of stuff.
you know, you're seeing things that you would have never seen.
Washington. I thought I'd never go over there.
See it, which is nice.
To the West Coast.
You know? And we're actually getting paid to see these things and experience these different things. And that's a benefit of being a truck driver.
Right.
Seeing the country, you know. I've witnessed and experienced sunsets and sunrises that I would have never seen before. That was special. You know?
See many stuff that you want to see and stuff that you don't want to see and stuff.
True that, yeah.
But I think you was asleep one night I was driving. It was a vehicle fire right beside the road. And I hope all of them got out okay and stuff.
You know, driving 35 years, one of the things that I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot over the years. That's what makes the difference between an inexperienced somebody who's inexperienced at this game, and somebody that's been driving as long as I have, I've seen so many bad things out there on the road, you know, and it makes you think twice about, you know, not being on point, paying attention, you know, focusing on what you need to be doing instead of on everything else. You know, and it's so important because at any given time, anything can happen. You know, and you know, in a second, like in a blink of an eye, yo, that a car in front of you
could have stopped in front of you just like that.
I've seen blowouts on you know, on steering tires just blow out. You know, I mean, you know how many tires I've blown over the years. You know, and you know, you get a steer blow out on you. You know, it just don't blow up. It blows your whole fender off the truck. You know, it's scary. You know.
And what do you gotta do? What do you gotta do to deal with it?
Shit, pray. No. Know what you do, yo. Stay, you know, keep in control, of course.
Yeah.
You know, slow that truck down. Don't brake. You know, let it slow down naturally. You know, just let it gradually slow down and keep that thing as steady as possible, and get it over as quickly and as safely as possible over to the side of the road where you're in, you know, where you're out of the way of traffic. You know, but of course, you know. Experience helps when it comes to that. And then again, if it never happened to you, you don't know what it's like. You know, so I mean, it will happen eventually. You know, you will lose the steer. You will lose. You know, we had we had like almost 80,000 pounds on. You know, we had
almost 80,000
heavy load. We were like 78,000 pounds we would carry, and we had two blowouts.
That was our heaviest load to date. Carrying a load of water.
Yeah, we had water. Yeah, full water. Of all things, and we had two tires blow out on the trailer on us and stuff. And, you know, I mean, it happens. You know, blowouts are going to happen. You know, there's certain things, and other trucks are going to have blowouts, and cars are going to have blowouts. And, you know, and that's why it's so important to pay attention to what you're doing at all times. Because you just never know when something's going to happen. And you got to be on. You know, you got to be able to react to this. That's why it's important to keep your distance and all the things that you're supposed to be doing. Well, do them. There's a reason for it. You know, and that's to, you know, pretty much to save other people's lives. And your own.
What other than dry van, what else have you driven, Dave?
I've driven van, you know, because I'm such an old man, and I've been driving as long as I have. I've driven everything you could think of, man. I'm not, you know, just, you know, unfortunately, you know, but I've driven, you know, from tankers to frac tanks to roll-offs. All type of flatbeds, lowboys, you know. I've transported jet engines for a couple of years. I delivered gas for over a year. I worked for environmental companies, you know, running oil and stuff for cruise ships and so forth, and dealing with acid spills and every other thing that comes with working for an environmental company. You know, where you have to, you know, full suit, you know, gas mask, the whole nine yards.
Sounds like good money.
You know, it is good money, you know, but you know, you're talking about. It's no joke if that's what you want to do, you know. There's a risk involved when you're doing stuff like that. When you're running fuel, you're running hazmat, you know, like you're working for an environmental company, when you're dealing with acid spills and so forth, you know, there's a risk involved. And that's why when it comes to safety, you know, if you have any experience working for companies like that, you really know how important safety is, and you need to carry that over with everything you do. That's why, I mean, running reefers, running boxes, I don't care what you're running. You know, safety is number one. You know, it's so important. A lot of people overlook it, like, you know, oh, they go through the whole orientation thing and people preach safety up and down, but no, you need to take this all in. You know, because if not, you're going to eventually end up hurting yourself badly or someone else down the road. You know, it could cost you your license, it could cost you your life. Never mind your license. So,
like how do y'all do anything to stay healthy out here on the road? Yeah.
You look good. Play ping pong with you, man. Come on, drink a lot of muscle milk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, half my paycheck goes on muscle milk. Nah, but for real, I mean, of course, you know, it's like, you know, it's so easy to let yourself go driving a truck, and I see so many truckers that just
themselves go.
Let themselves go. We're surrounded by junk food. A lot of this junk food, it's good. I mean, it's tasty, you know.
Yeah.
Who don't like Popeye's chicken and Arby's and Carl's Jr. and everything? But you know something.
But then,
No, you man.
then again, I mean, a lot of the truck stops don't have the more healthier foods all that.
Nah,
and then people
Subway.
gravitate toward the junk stuff anyway, though.
The thing is, I don't care what's on the menu. It's up to you to eat correctly.
Right.
If you want to order, you don't need to order the junk. If you want to order a chicken salad, guess what? You can order that. Nobody's telling you not to. You know, so you can eat healthy at these truck stops if you want to. You don't need to drink all this sugared water, all these sodas.
Take a walk.
No, drink an unsweetened iced tea. Throw a little sweetener or whatever.
I mean, I've seen other truckers' table and stuff, a big old spread and all that kind of stuff. Then they go to their truck, go to sleep or something.
Yo,
on top of all that. So
keep busy.
That's not good
keep them
either.
busy. Keep them, you know, it's so important to keep that blood circulating. Like we did playing ping pong, working up that sweat. Yo, that was sweet. I didn't have to come out here and clean my truck because you know that's what I'd be doing. You know, anything to do some type of activity.
Right.
Yo, man, why not clean your truck? I mean, you want to work up a sweat, do something that's going to be beneficial to yourself, health-wise, and to what you're driving. You're representing a company. It's nice to have a nice clean truck. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do some walking or
You know, I'm
something.
not telling you to be crazy, fanatical about, you know, but there's nothing wrong with having a clean truck, you know, and clean surroundings in your truck. I don't like smelling old food, or I don't like smelling anything nasty. You know, I want my truck.
Supposed to be there.
Yeah, you know, I want my truck smelling sweet at all times. You know, but you know, there's so many things you can do and stay active. I got a Stay Fit system in my truck.
What's that?
Did you see that? I'll show you. Stay Fit system.
Oh,
Bam.
yeah.
And yo, you can do a complete workout. It's convenient. Definitely, it's nice. You know, not being able to go to the gym on a daily basis, having that in your truck, it's nice. You know, so there's things you could do to actually stay in shape. There's things you could do to actually get in shape while you're driving. You can lose all the weight you want to lose and get in great shape if you put your mind to it. But that goes, you know, that goes without saying. You know.
No, I think you gotta say it.
I think you gotta say it. It can be done.
Yeah.
And definitely, you know,
Say it,
it definitely could be done. I'm proof of that.
Because you gotta realize a lot of people, they hearing a lot of people say, trucking made me gain weight,
fat,
or get out of shape.
Nah, man.
Something didn't make you fat.
You do that yourself.
You did it yourself.
You know what it makes
So yeah, it got to be said enough times to counter all the times they hear people making excuses and saying it's something
You
else.
do it yourself.
Yeah, I've noticed more and more truckers actually doing exercising. I've go in rest stops, you know, for a quick bathroom break. I've been seeing cats in there jogging, truck drivers, doing laps, not just running around their truck once or twice. I mean, seriously, you know, doing some miles, you know, and actually talking. And I've actually talked to quite a few of them, and this is something they do as daily as possible. They try to do it every day if they can, you know. So there are guys out there that, you know, that are driving a truck, taking it seriously, and actually, you know, realizing that our health is probably the most important thing we have in life, man. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, nobody else is. And if you want to perform at your best, not just behind the wheel, which is, that's what you're doing. So it's so important to take, you know, to eat right and to exercise, and this way we can be at our best. And just overall, you know, who wouldn't want to be at their best? You know,
I think there's a certain level of mindfulness, and like we were saying earlier, you know, everything is connected, and people have to understand that. Like, if you totally neglect your health, then you're going to counter out the whole idea of being out here running and making money.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because you're going to end up spending whatever you make on your health.
On hospital bills,
Well,
on doctors,
as long as you're able to drive until they chase you out of the industry altogether because of poor health. So, you know what I'm saying? Everything is connected.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I've seen some people recently, like, how did you pass your last DOT physical? You know?
Yeah, I was thought about that before too.
Oh God, I'm like,
people struggle with that.
I seen a lady, she got out of her truck, got inside the truck stop, had to take a break, pause, arm on the counter, and then she went and shopped, got whatever she needed before she walked back out to her truck, take another break, pause.
Barely walk. She could
Got
barely
to
breathe.
her truck, put all the stuff in there. Must have took about a 2-minute break before she climbed back in.
And I ain't gonna ask you what some of the stuff was that she was carrying. Hopefully it wasn't 2 liters of sodas and a case of donuts.
It wasn't water.
Yeah, that's for sure. It probably
I done
wasn't
seen that
water.
one too. But yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate all this good old insight and information. I know we kept y'all a long time, but hey, man, some good stuff, man.
Some good stuff. Yeah, it's not as easy. It's not as easy as what they may think it is. Go and realize that. Things don't happen overnight.
Right.
Anything good doesn't happen overnight anyway. You gotta work
really
for it.
Evaluate it within themselves.
Is this something I want to do? Right. Is this for me?
Do I have the family support behind me doing this and whatnot? Talk to a few truckers.
Well,
let me ask you one more thing. What, if anything, do you do? Do you have any techniques or any ways that you deal with stress on the road, or do you even have stress on the road?
I think we all have stress. We deal with stress on a daily basis. I don't care who you are. Things can be going as smooth. There's sometimes things go really smooth. That doesn't mean stress is right. Knocking at the door, boy. Believe that. And so stress is a big part. We deal with a lot of stress on this job. So not just with other drivers. Never mind your driving aspect. When we're picking up and delivering, there's always seems to be, you're going to run into problems. You're going to run into headaches, man. You got to deal with it. And you deal with it with patience. The more patient you are, the easier it is for you to process what's going on. When you're in a hurry and you don't have no patience and you don't want to be where you're at, well, might as well, because it's just going to get worse from there. But nah, just be patient. Don't you only go so fast.
Right.
Bottom line, you only go so fast. Take your time, be safe, deal with what comes your way the best way you can. You have problems, get on the phone. Do what you need to do to solve these problems and get through them. And stress is not stress ain't 24/7.
Right.
Sometimes we create our own stress by not being able to deal with certain things that come our way. So these obstacles that do come our way, what do you do when we come to an obstacle? We go around it. We do what we have to do. We go around, go over. We do what we have to do. And we're going to have to deal with these obstacles, and we deal with them in a professional mannerism. And with patience, like I said, patience is such a virtue. It's true. Patience is a virtue. Yeah, believe me, it truly is, man.
I think you said something else very important too, though, like at the very beginning, and that is realize that you're going to have some things that come up.
Sure, it's life.
And so it's an unrealistic expectation to assume that everything is supposed to be smooth
as pie. It's not going to happen.
And so
everything's not
once
that way.
You realize that as really coming upon issues and challenges is really just a part of life.
It's part of life, and not for nothing. If everything ran smoothly, what fun would it be?
Exactly.
And not saying that I love headaches.
Yeah, you don't look forward to it, but
not for nothing. Not for nothing. You deal. Yeah, he thinks so. He wants to.
All the time.
He wants to know where I got that from. Anyway.
So we start calling that for nothing.
But things would be boring.
Yeah.
Things would really. It's like I like challenges.
Oh, yeah.
It's in our blood. To deal with challenges and stuff. But it's how you handle it. It's no different than with husband and wife. How you handle your marriage. You're gonna have headaches. You're gonna have problems, man. You're gonna have disagreements. You're gonna have fights. It's how you overcome them that makes it work.
You know what? As similar to what I've said before, I think that part of what makes trucking addictive, we say, is getting your blood.
Yeah.
I think part of the addictive component is the challenges that we face, the unpredictability, the things that can come up. Now, at the time, you might dislike it, but That's part of what makes you, you know what I'm saying? You don't really understand it, but that's part of the draw.
And stuff without,
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Definitely.
I ain't gonna hold y'all no longer. Dre, Dave, appreciate that, man. I'm glad I met y'all out here today. We had a good time. And hey, man, make the most out of the experience. You come out here, get out the truck, man. Get out the truck, go in the truck stop. Don't be afraid to speak to people.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, these guys, when I found they had a ping pong table, I was just walking around and talking about, hey,
you know how to play ping pong?
Yeah, you play ping pong?
Come on, man.
You play ping pong? You play ping pong?
Yeah.
This guy like, it's been a while. I was like, well, oh yeah? That mean yeah? And so yeah, it was on and popping. And there's another guy, Nick, we met. He played ping pong. So
get out the truck.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah,
you never know who you might meet out there.
Yeah, you got a question while you out here. So ask somebody. I mean, don't keep it in to yourself because you ain't gonna find no. You're gonna believe your own understanding. So just ask somebody, a couple of people. You got a question or whatever.
And that's how you learn in life, you know, without asking questions, and without talking to other people that have experienced it, and you know, I mean, that's how you learn things in life, and you take it for what it is. Some advice might be bad, but some advice might be good, you know, and that's the good advice is what we need to take in. Definitely.
Yep. So we about to, when you mess around, we'll start all over again. Hey, y'all be easy.